So, welcome back to PodX. This is me, Ayush Majithia, your host. Our guest for today is Shaleen Chhapkhanawala. Shaleen is the founder of Flawed by Shaleen, a fashion label that creates unique garments using organically sourced fabrics which cannot be replicated. She holds a BA in fashion business, a PGDM in luxury brand management, and a diploma in fashion styling. Prior to starting her own label, she worked at multiple companies to gain experience and knowledge. And I'm really excited to have Shaleen over here share all her knowledge and her experiences with us. So, Shaleen, thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you. I'm really impressed with your intro and a little bit shy. That was cute. Thank you.
So, Shaleen, I wanted to start off with the story of how Flawed by Shaleen actually began. So, you told me that you had just left your last job and you weren't really sure what to do. And then you decided that you wanted to go with start a brand or your own label and all. So, could you tell us the whole story about how it happened and all?
So I've always known that I wanted to have my own brand. It was always going to be in the swimwear space. Sorry. It was always supposed to be in the swimwear space. And then the pandemic sort of hit. I mean, I didn't know when I was going to start my own brand or anything of that sort. And then I quit my job, as you just said, and the pandemic had started, and I was sort of in a weird place where I'm sure a lot of people were in, which was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. It's going to be so hard to get a job right now, etc., etc. And I, like the whole world, was onto this whole tie-dye trend, and I wanted to do my own DIYs at home and stuff like that. And so I started looking for white basic joggers and tops that I could buy and tie-dye. I'd already finished all of my white clothes at home and tie-dyed them. I'd already done that. I wanted white joggers and I couldn't find them anywhere. So I was honestly I built my own website before, which was my portfolio website. And I sort of just was sitting home bored like the rest of the world, just figuring it out and tweaking it a bit. And I started putting up the ones I'd already done on my website. And it honestly just started from there. And then I started realizing I was okay, fine, I can really do this. Everyone's at home. We need loungewear right now. And I started contacting manufacturers and putting up designs, and that's how it began.
All right, I have two questions. Firstly, how did you decide? Okay, you told us the story and all, but in your mind, how did you make the decision that, okay, wait, I'll go to the first question actually, which is, were you after you just left your job before the pandemic and people were losing their jobs during the pandemic? So did you have a fear that, oh, I won't get a job, or how will I sustain financially?
100%. I think that's at around my age, I think everyone sort of goes through that, through those thoughts of, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything right now. And then given the situation of the pandemic, it was all came down harder on me, where I was shit, I just left my job and this has happened. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know who is going to hire me. It was a very confusing time. So of course I had those reservations and fears.
Okay, and second question, how did you okay, you told us a story, but what made you how did you decide to take that decision? Was it, you had two options in front of you, either search for another job or just start your label. So how did you take that decision?
I thought there's no better time really. I had all the time to myself. At that point it was strict lockdown, and it was just I have to try now. There's no better time to try than now. So I just sort of gave it a shot, and I said, I'll see where it goes, and I'm not gonna this is not what I have to do for the rest of my life, but I'll see where it goes. And obviously it's grown and it feels like my baby, and I'm so passionate about it that it just sort of became what it is, and I keep trying to improve it and all of that. So it wasn't ever a black and white decision for me, actually.
Yeah, but I think the pandemic was really...
We never know. Sorry?
No, sorry for interrupting. You can continue.
No, don't. Sorry. I said I might just I'm not saying this is the end of everything. I might want to work somewhere else. I might want to have something. I might grow this to something else. I don't know at the moment.
Correct. You're like, I think how, I mean, I'm sorry for asking it if you don't want to tell it, but
I'm
how old are you?
24.
Oh, exactly. So you're
24.
24. So there's like a lot of it left for you, like a huge amount of time, maybe 50,
Yes.
60 years. So a lot can change. And you might have like different
Yes.
plans
Yes.
completely.
I mean, I don't think I will, but I don't want to cut it off.
So basically, what I was saying was during the lockdown, a lot of cool things happened. So I think it was a time where people could really build their potential and create something creatively, or even learn some new things and all. So even for the podcast earlier, what I used to, like I mentioned, I've spoken to you on this on call, which was I used to wait for people to come down to Goa and then probably record the podcast or something like that. And then the lockdown happened, and I saw everything shifting on Zoom, and I realized maybe this is a much more better and easier alternative. So I decided to shift through Zoom, and it was I think lockdown was a really good time for me. So I learned a lot from that and all.
Oh, I love how you go about everything. It's so professional. I am not half as professional, so good on you. Um, but I think you're doing great, and you're just trying to get as many people on as you can. And I think that will take you very far.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I wanted to come to you about this part. So the fashion industry and the clothing industry is almost responsible for like 1.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide every year, like the carbon waste. And so there's like this trend of eco-friendly fabrics and upcycling and recycling garments and all that stuff. So could you tell us about that? Something about that?
I think the fashion industry it's one of the biggest contributors to waste on the planet. Although I'm really happy to say this. I've seen a shift in the way people are consuming things now. Like, it's very different. Of course, there are fast fashion brands, and there always will be, and there'll always be a demand for it. But there are a lot of more brands that are coming out and trying to be conscious about where they manufacture, the materials they're using, or everything around that. We try to be as sustainable as possible, even with hint, the new swimwear line coming up. We're trying to use the most eco-friendly fabrics like Econel, which is regenerated nylon. And I'm really happy to say that I've seen, I think in the past year or two, even India, like having that whole shift to, I want to buy things that are better for the planet. So I think that's changing, and that's a very, very good thing.
Yeah, I think
I've
it's happening a
actually
lot.
discovered a lot of, through this pandemic, a lot of brands, a lot of thrift Indian brands on Instagram, which I was really like, I was beyond happy to see, because I love thrift shopping, and I always have when I was abroad. But I never knew it existed so much in India. And once you see something on Instagram, it keeps feeding it back to you. So I've discovered so many new like thrift stores or second-hand stores, and I just think it's such a cool concept, and it really deserves to grow.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that. So I was just talking about thrift stores, which is basically I've been reading a lot of articles. I'm not sure how much is it in India. You mentioned that it's coming up a lot, but in other countries, like there are people who are going vegan and all, but at the side they're also like using a lot of thrift stores and all that stuff. So they'll buy used clothes, which are like in extremely good condition, and they look really nice and all that stuff. So that's a new trend which I'm seeing, and hopefully it comes in India and people start accepting it. Because in India, I feel
It really
that
has. Let
there's
me
the
tell you that
mentality
it
that
really.
because like I feel in India there's the mentality that if you're buying something secondhand it's bad or something. So if that can change in our country or something like that, then it would be very beneficial, I feel.
I totally agree. And I truly think it is changing. Like, the amount of stores that I see that are so cool, and like followed by, they have a lot of followers on Instagram and stuff. So I definitely see that space growing, and I think it's amazing. So I actually have a new concept that we're doing with Flawed, which is going to be all the archives. So on the website, like, while you're going through a process of building a new product, there comes a lot of sampling with it, which means that you go through a lot of phases. And I am super not, my manufacturers hate me for this, but I will not release a product until I like every little inch of it. Like, I'm so picky about every detail that I get left with a lot of samples. And because we do tie-dye, I even like experiment with the colors and try to make new combinations and etc. So we're going to come up with an archives page where we're going to sell all the sample pieces at a discounted rate on the website so that it sort of don't go to waste, because right now they're just a bunch of clothes with me that I'm not doing anything with. It sort of all ends up in the landfills later on. So that's one thing that we're trying to do to be a little more sustainable.
Yeah, I think that's like a really cool concept which you're working on, and I hope it succeeds also.
Thank you.
Another thing which I've noticed is also a lot of people are now buying vegan sneakers. Like recently, I bought a pair of sneakers and I was looking for the vegan ones. So they're like, more eco-friendly and all that stuff, and they help the environment. And that's a new trend also. And it's more like, I think we're in a similar generation. So like our generation is adapting to that a lot more. So that's a good thing which I'm seeing.
Yeah, and the newer generation is even more than us. So I think it's great. We're only going up.
I wanted to ask you about this thing. So you speak about manufacturing, and also what are some of the challenges that you faced with the manufacturers or in your entrepreneurial journey? All right, let's do the manufacturing part first and then the journey overall.
It's craziness. Like if you're from a family that sort of has like textiles in your background, you're already like, you should just thank your stars, because it gets so much easier when you have those contacts. I had none. So I literally Googled, like I had to Google manufacturers in Bangalore, clothing, cotton, like sort of feed into Google like the keywords and just cold call. Like in the beginning, I remember I called about like 60 manufacturers. Like you speak to all of them. I'm sort of trying to understand, like, are they understanding me? Because also it's not very easy to communicate with them. At least for me, my Hindi is not great. I can get by totally, but it's not great. So I'm trying to understand who's going to understand me, whose products seem good, who seems like they want to sort of perfect the product. It's quite a hassle, but I just say sit and cold call as many people as you can. Google them, ask friends for favors. If you know anyone that knows someone, pull up all those favors. Like I'm bad at that, but you should definitely just get networking.
Yeah. Okay. So I have two questions. One was in the networking part, but the I'll finish the manufacturing part first, which is how do you finalize that you want to go with this manufacturer? What were the aspects that you looked for? Something like that.
I was looking for someone that understands my vision for the brand. I firstly, you need to find someone that's doing low quantities, which is anyway hard because everyone wants to do like thousands, 2,000s, 3,000, 4,000s. Like it's crazy numbers for small businesses to do. So firstly, finding someone that was okay with my MOQs. Then finding someone that was willing to sort of go through the nitty gritties of the sampling process, because I'm telling you, it's a pain. Like, and when you have someone like me that's so much of a perfectionist when it comes to these things, like my tank top, you'd think that it was the easiest thing. And it was the first thing I approached my manufacturers for. And they were all like, yeah, that's easy. They gave me something that just looked straight out. Like it looked like one of those banyans that you wear, and I'm not okay with that. Like I had to go through about 9 samples for that tank top to just get to where it is now. So sort of having someone that's willing to do that and that's accepting of all the changes and everything like that. And then I went and just met a bunch of them, and whoever I sort of gelled with the most, and I knew was going to do well with me, I went with.
Oh, but now that you are in that space already and all, do you think the manufacturers are able to like exactly get whatever vision is in your mind? Is it exactly produced that way?
No, not at all. I have 2 products on my website right now, and we have for the past year, but I've been working on a lot more, and it's been like craziness to find manufacturers like at better prices and stuff, and also to nail the product has been super hard, because you need, like, if I need components, like in one of my hoodies I have a silicone patch, and it's been close to impossible to find someone in India, because like you've got to understand that certain places do certain things like India's really good with their knitwear and stuff. Pakistan's really good with their silicons. Bali, China, Sri Lanka really good with swimwear. Like, but I sort of want to do everything in India because I want to be a local brand. That it's been really hard to sort of find people in that. And I've gone through manufacturers, been like, okay, fine, I like your product, done sampling, and been like, this is not working. Have to go through the process again and find someone again. It's a long drawn process, but I'd rather put out something that is perfect and the quality is amazing to putting out something that's average and, I want my brand to be good products.
Right, and last question with regards to manufacturing. Is every product manufactured by the same manufacturer or is it like separate?
Separate. Initially, I obviously not knowing much coming into this, I thought I'd just have one manufacturer and we do everything together. But you can't depend on one manufacturer because if something happens there, you need to have a backup. So whenever you're doing anything, you should have at least I'm working with 3 manufacturers at the moment. So yeah, not one manufacturer for sure.
Okay, that was something new because I didn't know that, because I used to always think that it was just one manufacturer would do all the products and all that stuff, but this is new. Okay, so coming to the networking part, you spoke about networking and all that stuff. So how do you think one networks? How do you think one should be able to build their network or something like that?
Reach out to all your friends and know what they're doing. Ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help because everyone needs that little, you need that push. You're not going to go ahead without people's help, and don't be afraid to ask for it. Also, the internet is pretty amazing. So there's definitely a lot of rubbish that comes with it, but you have to be willing to sit and sift through it and just figure it out for yourself like that.
Yeah.
So the internet and friends and family.
I think that works really well. So I use LinkedIn a lot to reach out to people. So what I do is I reach out to them and I ask them to mentor me or provide me with guidance or something which I can improve or something which I can change, or just get on a call with them to understand, because I really love learning different things. And also I just try to understand a different field or something like that, which is not related to me. And secondly, I feel these podcasts also help me a lot to learn and network with people. So I use these 2 methods.
You are doing a great job.
Thank you so much for that. But coming to the other part, what were some of the challenges? Okay, you spoke about the manufacturing challenges, but what were the general challenges that you faced while being an entrepreneur or starting out with Flawed?
You sort of have to figure everything out yourself, so everything has its own challenges. Like I said, I built my own website in the beginning, and then I was like, oh no, the tiny little things that are not working out. So I was like, okay, I have a friend who has a brand, who has a website, contacted her, was like, who's your developer? Sort of got in touch with the developer and they fixed my website issues. So those were done. Then you need to sort of have a backend and a banking. Got my dad's CA involved. Now I have my own chartered accountant to sort of just speak to everyone, and someone's field, tap into that, ask them questions, sit and just ask all the questions you can, all of your doubts, have them cleared, and you learn along the way. There's no guide, do this, and you'll be, acceptable. So it's sort of just living and learning.
Okay, another part which I wanted to ask you about was, so a lot of businesses face the issue is when people return the products, they damage the products or they spoil the products and return it or something like that, or there's payment issues and all that stuff. So how do you deal with those?
So my website has a no return policy unless the product that we send you is faulty, and you can send us an image saying this is not what I order, or this is not the quality that it should be, then we will exchange or return it. But as of now, because I sort of don't have the bandwidth to deal with returns, and I know that a lot of people do that, it's a very common thing done in the e-commerce space, unfortunately. So currently we don't offer returns and exchanges. That also leaves us with less dead stock. So it works.
Yeah. So I'm getting a lot into the technical aspects. So I hope you're fine with that.
Of course.
Okay. So the delivery part, how do you all manage like the delivery part of it? Like, do you all is that like a third party? How do they manage it? How fast does the delivery happen and all?
It is a third party. So I'm signed on with, sorry, I'm feeling really hot now. I've just locked myself in this room. I'm gonna take my jacket off.
Oh.
But the delivery process, yeah. So I spoke to a couple of people and sort of was trying to figure out which the best one would be for me. I'm currently tied up with delivery. So you've got to find your shipping service, which can be like a delivery or a Blue Dart or DHL, whatever it is. And then you call them, and I have an account with DHL with delivery. So I just do it online. You just have this TL panel, you fill in all your details, and they come and pick it up from below. So I sort of get my parcels ready, send them down, and they're picked up. So it's all third party services. And you just have to find one that works best for you. It takes 3 to 4 days usually, all around India.
Okay.
And
Another
about
thing is,
7 when
but
it's international.
do you about the thing which I wanted to ask you is, do you all still manage like, okay, how do you all still manage to make a profit? A profit, because these delivery partners are like, I don't know, some of like, normally I don't know if there's deal or no deal, but normally if we go to have them something deliver something and all, they take a pretty big sum. So
No, so
and you can't
once you're obviously no,
yeah.
once you're on with them as a business, you can calculate the rates beforehand, but also it's pretty standard for domestic orders. It depends on the weight of the product, which is the parcel weight, or the value. So if it's a high value, then you will be charged more. But I put a standard flat on my website. So you pay 75 rupees, which is the minimum for shipping. And that's sort of what the delivery partner takes per parcel. So you've got to charge that on your website, and it works when you're a business and you're tied up with them. They don't sort of overcharge you every time. But I know what you mean, because when I send one-off parcels through like a Blue Dart or something, if I want next day delivery, it's super, super expensive.
I wanted to talk about like, Flawed by Shaleen is all about, accepting your flaws and being unique to your own self and all. So I wanted to get into the part of body image and all. So like, what inspired you for that name, and what was the inspiration behind that?
So I've had this name. It's funny enough, I've had this Flawed by Shaleen, the domain, the website domain, for like 6 years now. I was studying in fashion college, and every project that I had to do myself was always based around Flawed. Like, one of my projects was a magazine that was sort of had Winnie Harlow as the cover girl and was sort of empowering girls on their flaws. So I've always had that attachment to this word. Honestly, the word came up one day. My friend and I were sitting at lunch, and we were just like, oh, if you had a magazine or if you had a brand, what would you name it? And we just sat there and thought for 2 minutes, and this word just stuck out to me. As soon as I said it to her, that's sort of always been the journey that I wanted to take. And I've always loved like empowering other women to do what they want and not be conscious. Like, I have a lot of like my cousins or younger people that are like I'm talking to, and I see their insecurities, and it makes me sad. So I just want to do everything I can to empower people to sort of feel okay in their own skin. And that's all where it came from.
But like, because of the social media impact and all, a lot of people feel very insecure these days. In fact, I was watching this video where people use these editing apps where they look completely different in real life, and in pictures they look completely different, and all that stuff. And also, it's creating so much of insecurity. And also, how do you think people should deal with it? What would be your advice on that?
I don't know if I can advise on this, because I mean, everyone's like it's very hard to sit and say, like, actually, it's very easy to sit and say, I don't feel like this. It goes on in someone's mind, and you sort of don't know what they're dealing with. With social media, I do think it's gotten a lot worse. But I think personally, I think instead of expecting social media to change, because it's not. It's the reality. It's there. It's not going to change. I think we need to change the way we're looking at it. Like when I use my personal Instagram, I sort of putting up pictures that I like to put up, or that I like and that I think look nice or whatever, and that's what I like to put up. So I'm putting it up on my page. You've got to understand that someone coming to visit my profile shouldn't think that that's my life, because that's not. That is a highlight reel of my life. That's what I want to put on my Instagram. People need to start looking at it differently. You need to stop, like when I look at other models Instagram, I should not be like, oh my god, I want that, I want to look like that, or I want that to be my life, because that's not their whole life. So you sort of have to understand that it's a sneak peek into someone's life, and it's what they want to share. So it's not the reality. Once you are able to disconnect that, I think you'll be happier in the social media space itself.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, this is the first time I'm ever saying this on the internet, which is basically till ninth grade. So when I was like 15 or 16, I had a unibrow. And basically it came till here. And what would happen was I used to like be teased a lot in school about it and all that stuff. So then firstly I used to feel very bad about it back then. But then slowly I just started accepting it, that it's like a part and parcel of life. It's whatever, I want to keep it, or I don't want to keep it, it's my choice and all that stuff. And I should accept it. I don't want to be like, oh, if someone looks this way, I should also want to look like that way and all, because I'm me and they are they.
Exactly. And once you sort of realize that about yourself, you won. Because no one can say anything to you that's going to make you feel bad once you're like, I don't even care anymore, I think that's great. Good on you. I know it's hard, and everyone wants to change certain things about themselves, but you sort of just got to learn and deal. And if you can, and if you want to, go for it. If it makes you feel good, go for it. I just think everyone should just keep doing what they want to do to make themselves feel good, and not let anyone tell you otherwise. If you have an insecurity and you do something and you want to change it, say someone goes and gets something done, plastic surgery, whatever, it's what's going to make them happy, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think like respecting their choices and all, and not judging them for it. Okay.
No, you just let everyone do what they want to do. It's not about you. It's about what
I just
makes
want
them
to ask
happy.
you about this. Do you get judgment? I mean, in general or something?
For what?
In general, I don't know. Because, okay, so basically when people have a lot of followers or something, they do get a lot of judgment. I've seen it in the comment section, or they get DMs or something, or in general.
Yeah, I think so. It happens, but I don't feed into that. And I think I'm lucky to not be able to feed into that. But sometimes people say something and it's like, oh, why? Like, you don't even know. So you just got to keep telling yourself that they don't know anything. So if they're going to sit and comment on my picture saying, oh, haha, rich family problems, or like rich girl problem, like it's not what it. I know what it is. I know what the truth is. I know what the reality is. So sometimes I'm like, especially if they do it to my friends, I'm like, oh my god, I just want to sit and say something back to you, or like, just respond. But you're feeding into that, so I'd say ignore it.
Okay, I wanted to come to the last section of the podcast, which is how do you continuously keep on learning new things and experimenting and stuff? Because how do you keep that open mindset? Because what happens is basically as people get older and older, they are not so open to learning and all that stuff, and they keep on staying in that same circle where their mind is, that same box. So how do you keep yourself open to learning, and what are the different methods you learn from or something?
I love learning things in my own space, and I love meeting people and traveling. And I think travel is one of, like, you learn most when you travel, when you go and put yourself out of your comfort zone. I like doing that. But otherwise, honestly, I think I've also had a phase of like not feeling inspired to really do much. And I think a lot of people go through that at some point. I think was sort of in that funky space where you're like unmotivated, but you just got to keep trying and pushing yourself. And I'm lucky to have family and friends that keep pushing me, that are trying to get me to do more, which is a good thing when you do feel that way. But yeah, to just stay hungry, keep meeting new people, put yourself out of your usual comfort zone. That helps. And also, we have so much available. Like now, you have so much literally at your fingertips that you'd be silly not to take advantage of it. Like sitting in lockdown, I took courses online and I sat and did this and that. And you should just sort of give everything a shot, give it a try.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to say that I'm this almighty, I do everything, I know everything, I learn everything. Please, like I have phases where I'm like, oh, I just want to sit and do nothing. I don't want to do this, Everyone has that. You just have to learn how to get yourself out of that funk.
Yeah, and like another thing is which someone actually gave me this really good advice is you should try different things and experiment it so that you know what you don't want to do in life.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's huge for me. Like I at least when I was like working at places, I always knew that I wanted to do something in the fashion space, but you don't realize that even in this fashion space, it's huge. Like there are a lot of things to do. You can be a stylist, you can be a designer, you can be a costume designer, you can be a set designer, you can be like, the opportunities are endless. You can be a buyer, you can be like, there's so many things that you can do in fashion. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I sort of went through the process of elimination, which was so good for me because everything I did, I was like, okay, I like this, but I don't really like this. So I'm one step closer to knowing what I want to do because I know what I don't want to. And I think that definitely helped me. Like just knowing, like every time I went in a job, it is sometimes super unmotivating because you're in that space and you're like, oh, I've tried this also and I don't even want to do this. Like, but you're like, okay, got to see the brighter side of it and think that I know I don't want to do this. Now if there were 10 options, now there are only 9 options left. So I have to keep getting to there and you'll eventually get to something that you like and enjoy doing.
Yeah, I think that's like an amazing thing. Okay, so I wanted to ask you this, which is 3 things that travel taught you?
What are 3 things that travel taught me? To be more open.
Okay.
To keep learning, I guess, like you said. And travel taught me to help others. Because you sort of you get yourself in situations a lot of times, like while traveling, where you see other people that maybe don't know where they are, don't know what to do, or first time on a plane, like something like that. You always want to help someone else. So I feel like it's a very enriching journey, and you meet a lot of people. I just honestly endless. Like travel has taught me too much.
Yeah, but do you like go on solo trips? So that's something which I've always wanted to do, but I've never gone on one. So, and if you've gone on solo trips, then how does it feel?
I went on one to South America. A lot of people tease me that it wasn't actually a solo trip because it's this thing called Life Before Work, and it's a group. I found them. A friend I think told me about them, and then I read on them online, and they're basically a group. So all people from around the world can come to this place, and then you sort of do an organized trip. So it's not one of those solo trips where I just went. Although I always wanted to do it, I just want to like go book a one-way ticket somewhere and figure it out. I've never done that, but I have done one of the trips where I went alone and I met like a whole bunch of different people, and one of my best experiences like of life. It was just way too much fun. Like you're so out of your comfort zone because you know no one. And I went alone. Some people go with like their friends or group or whatever. I went alone because I wanted to put myself in a position of you have to sort of figure it out yourself. Like, I really enjoyed that. And I highly encourage it. Like, if you're thinking of doing it, look up life before work. If that's something you want to do and you're a little bit intimidated or scared to do the solo, like figure it out, I'd say that's a good step.
No, I think I will try that. It seems much more better than the solo one, because like it's like a similar agenda and you get to meet new people who are there for the same reason. So I want to try that. Yeah.
100, do it. I don't recommend anything more. Like it was amazing. I think I went for a month and it was great. Like I would really highly recommend doing that.
I shall try.
Or even like going to university and studying abroad, I think has sort of the same things, because you're putting yourself in a place where you don't know anyone, you don't know how their life is or how it works over there, and you sort of have to figure it out. So that helped me too.
So yeah, about that, I actually so basically I'm in the 12th right now, and I'm like planning on different universities and all. So a lot of people like whom I spoke to recommended me going abroad, but even my sister, I have an elder sister, she wants me to go abroad, but the thing is I'm very, I don't know, nervous and scared of going abroad. So right now I've only applied to universities in India, because like I don't know, I'm not really sure, comfortable about it, but hopefully I do my PG abroad or something like that.
I think you, as much as I know of you and about you, you have really like pushed yourself to get in touch with as many people as you can. I don't think I'm a small business. I don't know how you heard of me or whatever, but you've still gone out of your way to reach out and sort of have me on your podcast and stuff. I think you can do so well, and I think you will really blossom if you go abroad. But having said that, it's very, very expensive. And if you can and have the means to, or you can get your hands on a scholarship, I'd highly encourage you to do it. Because I think putting yourself in that position, I think you're a pretty extroverted person. You can get along with people. You have a lot to say and a lot to speak about. I think you would really do well if you went abroad and gave it a shot, because you really like, it's stupid things like doing your own laundry, making sure your own room is clean. Like no one's sitting there telling you go to class. If you want to go to class, you're at the class. If you're not at the class, you'll probably be kicked out of the university. But it's all on you. So you sort of get to a place where you're like, I have to do it or it's not going to happen. So I think it really builds your character and pushes you a lot in life. And I think you definitely should.
Okay, two things. Firstly, your business isn't like really small. And I think I found your story really, really amazing. So that's the reason why I was like so excited and enthusiastic to have you on my podcast. And I'm really glad this happened. And yeah, second of all, I'm still, I don't know, I'm nervous about going abroad. So I haven't even answered the SATs and all yet. So I'm not sure about.
Honestly, everyone is nervous. I'm just going to talk to you about, not even on the podcast. This is just a you and me conversation. But I was super nervous going abroad. Like I think I did short courses. I didn't do a 4-year. I wish I did. I wish I stayed there for longer. But I did short courses, and every time I went abroad again, like I went twice. Once I was in London for 6 months, and once I was in Nottingham for a year. And each time I went there, I promise you, I got there, I was so nervous. Like my biggest fear was, oh my God, what if I don't make friends? What if I hate this? What if I'm not able to do this? Like everyone has those fears. I promise you, every time I went abroad, I'd sit in my room, I was crying. Like I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm finally here. Like I'm so scared. But it happens. Like there are things, they have Freshers Week, they do a lot of ice-breaking sessions, like, and you have to do it. Like that's the biggest thing. You have to make your own friends if you want friends. You have to go to class if you want to get your attendance right. You have to finish your work if you want to pass. So when you're compelled to do things, there's no other option and you will do it. So all those nerves are there and they're good because they will push you to get yourself out of that comfort zone.
Okay, I think I will definitely give it a shot for my PG, but UG, I think I'll continue here. So yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, so what would be your last advice for anyone who is listening or watching this podcast?
I don't know if I can give so much advice. I'm not in a position to give any advice, but keep doing you, keep making yourself happy, keep following your dreams, and yeah, travel more. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining in, Shaleen. I had an amazing time talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the
Thank you so
podcast.
much for having me. Thank you.